Hey everyone, in this video we'll show you how to sew a Hmoob Plooj Sev. These are the pattern pieces. There's 3 of them. This one is the side Sev. It's the longest piece, and I folded over the fabric to pin it down because we want to cut 2 of these at the same time. You can do it one at a time if you prefer. And then I'm going to go ahead and pin the shorter one right next to it and the very last piece right next to it so that I can cut them all out all at once. Once you're done cutting out the blue pieces, you want to repeat this process with black fabric so that you also get 2 side pieces, one center one and one center bottom in black fabric. Once you have all your pieces cut, what you're going to do is take 2 side pieces in blue and one center black piece, and you're going to sew these together, and it'll be the opposite for the other side. So in order to get a straight line, we're going to take a ruler and some tailor's chalk, mine is yellow here, and we're going to line up the ruler right to the edge of the fabric, and we're going to chalk in a straight line, and this is where you're going to be sewing, right on the straight line, and that's how you can get your Sev to be a perfect straight line. After putting in the chalk line, you can pin it all the way down, and then you can take it over to your sewing machine and sew right on top of the chalk line. Once you're done sewing it down, you're going to flip it open and iron the seam here flat. And then once you're done ironing, you can see it's nice and straight here. We're going to measure from the opposite direction so that you can get a nice straight line and your Sev will be perfectly aligned. So I'm checking here on the pattern how much space I need in between the 2 blue pieces, and then I'm going to measure that onto the black piece. And I'm using the sewing line that I already sewn as the straight part that I'll align my ruler up to. And then whatever's left over on the other side will be the seam. And it doesn't matter if it's crooked on the other side because the fabric, when I cut it, probably wasn't straight. But what will matter is that I got a straight edge using the ruler. So once I have a straight edge and I've chalked in my line, I'll pin it to the other blue side and then sew it together. After sewing together, it'll look like this, and we're going to go ahead and iron it again so that our straight seam lines come out. You can see the lines are pretty nice, clean, and straight, and the sections are even. And after you do that, we're going to add the last piece, which is the bottom piece, and this is the pattern piece for it. So what you're going to do is you've already cut out the blue piece that goes at the bottom. You can see there's a 1/2 inch seam at the top, so we're going to chalk in that 1/2 inch right on the black center piece at the bottom there. And that'll help us guide where we're going to lay the fabric for this bottom piece right here. So this is our fabric piece, and this is tracing paper. We're going to put it right on top of the fabric piece, and then we're going to lay the pattern for that bottom piece right on top, and we're going to trace these lines, the 2 angles and the top 1/2 inch right onto it. So you can see there's a triangle shape on here, and then we're going to iron right along those lines so that this fabric piece fits right on top of our pattern piece. And that's where and then we're going to take this over and put it right on top of our Sev and sew it down. So you guys can see this fits on perfectly on top of the pattern piece. We're going to bring back our shay and we're going to line up our bottom piece here with the chalk line that we've created. And then we're going to pin everything down and you can see everything lines up nice and neat, including our corners. We're going to pin it tightly so that we can sew and move one pin off at a time and nothing else will shift. Here when we're sewing, you want to start at the corner and slowly work your way up with the stitching going as close as possible to the edge. When you get to the corner, you can lift your foot, turn your fabric, and here we do it again, so that it's right on top of that edge of that angled piece. Here's your completed front piece. You're going to repeat this process to the back pieces. And here I'm going to cut away any of the excess fabric here in the corner, and that is to help it so that my shay is not bulky once I connect the front and the back pieces together. Here we have both completed pieces, mirror image. We're going to lay them one piece on top of the other, both of the good sides facing each other. And then I like to line up the bottom first so that I can get those corners to meet each other before I pin up both sides. And then we're gonna sew all the way around from one side down to the bottom, all the way back up to the other side. Here's the tip for when you're sewing and you get to the corners. Make sure you stick your needle in right where the seam line is. That way you'll get a nice lined up corner. And then repeat to the other side before you sew all the way up. Here's our shay. We've sewn the front and back pieces together all the way around. And now we're going to cut away the extra fabric at the corners here. And what this will help do is give you nice sharp corners once you flip the good side on to the outside. If you don't cut away the extra fabric, you'll get a round bumpy corner. So here we've had our shay flipped over, and here's a trick that you can use. Get a needle and you can pull out your tight little corners so that they look nice and sharp. Don't do it too hard because then it'll pull the fabric out completely. You want to do it softly just so that you can get the extra fabric out. Then we're going to iron our shay seams. And to get the seams nicely done, you have to do this in 2 steps. This is a tip and trick of ours. You want to iron the seam flat first. You don't want to start with trying to iron it so that it's perfect on each side. You want to actually start on one side, iron the seam flat, so you could see I'm actually ironing extra over. And what this does is it gets rid of the fabric in the middle. Now I'm going to flip it over to the other side, and this time I will iron it nice and straight so that there's only black fabric on one side and blue fabric on the other side. The prior trick helps so that when you do this part, none of the extra fabric is caught in the center because it's already been flattened out. So you want to do that to both sides and the bottom. And here we have our completed shay. It's nice and straight on both sides. Mine got a little wet here from the iron. And then now I'll show you guys how to make a waistband. This part is not included in the pattern, but what you can do is take a 60-inch strip, which is the width of my fabric, and it's 4 inches wide. So 4 inches wide by 60 inches long. And we're going to iron one side about 1/2 inch inwards, all the way across. And the type of fabric I'm using here is broadcloth, but you can use cotton, which also works very well. And then we're going to iron another 1/2 inch on the other side, all the way across. And then once you do that, you fold it in half so that the two sides meet each other. And what that does is it creates a casing where you can insert your shay. So I'm going to find the center of this band and lay it out and open it up so that I can put my shay in to the waistband here. So this is where you can measure your shay to see how long you actually want it. If you need it shorter, you can just cut it. I'm going to leave mine long to wear with pants. And then you're going to insert it and you're going to flip the waistband over and pin it in place over your shay. And then what you're going to do is you're going to start sewing from one side all the way across to the other side. And what that'll do is it'll close up the waistband, it'll hold the shay nice and tight on the inside, and your waistband's going to be nice and clean and not have any fringe or string falling out of it. And it also looks nice and neatly done. Here's our completed shay with the waistband all done. You can see it's reversed on the other side. And here's your completed outfit with the shirt and your shay.